Okay. I believe everybody on Twitch should be back, which means we can officially get started. So, let's go ahead and switch over the screen. So, how's everybody doing today? Now, I've been discussing with some people during during the official start time, but how's everybody doing? Is everybody doing good? Hopefully you're doing well. I'm actually having a really good day today. Even though today was kind of a weird time frame because you may notice that I usually go to live about 12. I'm live at past 5. That's because I had a long whatever pick for the kid. Do note, that's up to you if you want to do that. If you want to send that to me, I would highly recommend joining the Discord. And such, and I can easily... Gotcha. Yeah. Highly suggest joining the Discord in order to send me things like pics and such and all that, because, I do not take... Can you link the Discord? Exclamation point Discord should give it to you, if it's working on YouTube's side. If not, I actually don't know if it works. Believe this should believe this should work. That gonna work? Apparently that does not work on YouTube side. So let me go ahead and I'll figure out why that's not working here in a moment. Let me just get that. Actually, I can get it from. Hang on. I know it should work on. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. Nightbot finally responded. Nightbot just being special today. Got it. I forgot to turn on my AC. I will be right back. It's getting to that point where every so often, hopefully my hands start working again, because I had to unplug my Leap Motion. Yay! Leap Motion's working again! Woo! I have hands! So, my day today was a bit interesting. Let's just go ahead and state that. Yeah. Do note if, like, you gave me a character concept and you want artwork on your character for that character concept, join the Discord. Send it to me. You can post it in the Discord. I don't know if I have a channel for it yet. Hang on. Do I have a TTRPG for... Hang on, let me... There we go. Okay, I've added a channel on the TTRPG and then all TTRPG horde and for character stuff. So, usually I have dedicated channels for stuff like this, but I've been neglecting the Discord, sadly. The Discord has been severely neglected, and I really need to go through and change some things. So I've been looking to change some things on the Discord. I need to go through and actually like professionally do a Discord server, go through and kind of change how it works, as well as figure out what to do with if people like decide to donate to me on Ko-Fi or do the whole like membership stuff, because I've been wanting to rehaul my Discord server recently, but that just takes time. I'm only one person, sadly. I'm one person who doesn't have a large community of people that that hangs out nearly every single day, so that's just an issue. But more about today. So I was supposed to go live at 12. That didn't happen. As you can see, it's already like 5:30 my time, and we're now live finally. What happened was I had to go to the post office today. Because I needed to get in contact with somebody at the post office so that I could figure out how to do everything I needed to do at the post office, so that I could start working at the post office. So I get there, person I need to talk to is in a meeting, I talk to somebody else, they send me over to somewhere else that I need to do in order to do everything else. I also live in a rural area, so they don't have all the sophisticated technology that you would think. So I go over to, like, the jailhouse so I could get my fingerprints taken. Next thing I know, that's not the right thing. I have to go back to the post office so that I can go to the downtown post office in a completely different city. And it was a whole thing. I'm probably shorthanding it because I don't want to really give a whole lot about what's going on there. But I'm looking to work at the post office. And this is probably going to be about the time that I'm going to have to starting stream once I start working at the post office anyway. Because I would love to make, like, video and content creation a whole thing. Oh. Hang on. Do note the reason you can't send links is because there's an issue where I had a whole bunch of people come in with bots and just started throwing stuff onto the server. So blame bots for posting links in there. So that's just a thing that had to happen. But I will actually share that. Do you mind if I share this with the stream? Do you mind if I share it with the stream? Okay. I have to ask because not everybody is okay with something like that being shared, so that's why I wanted to ask. I actually need to get a whole new scene for this real quick or a whole new source for this. Where the hell is all of it? Ah! I need to know which one I actually need to do because I actually don't know if it's just the window capture. Let's go with that. I don't want to do the Discord fully. This is not yet. I'm technically not part of the post office yet. I haven't technically gotten the job, but more than likely it'll be within the next few weeks when I'll actually be part of that. Okay. Let me just save the image real quick, and then I'll delete the image when things calm down. Let me go ahead. But yeah. There we go. Okay. Really? It's not on here? Where is it? Cancel. Properties. Give it to me. Where is it? There it is. My arms are going crazy. But this is the image. And this is for the did you go so I got a question. Did you go with the witch concept that I created or did you go with the sorcerer concept? I'm actually curious. Do note you could have also swapped out the race too. And I know many people are going to state in Pathfinder First Edition that Skinwalker is not politically correct, but like the witch more. Okay, that's what I thought. That's why I did the witch over. That's why I did both because I didn't know which one you fully wanted. Do note you probably could have went with Kitsune instead if you really wanted to. But that's up to You want art of art of your character? You gave me. What'd you give me again? You gave me half orc shaman. Spam the vid with comments, and I responded to each of them. Let's actually discuss something about. Let me actually go ahead and change over. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and unshow that so that we don't have that in here. We're gonna close that. I'm gonna go ahead and swap over to the main my main scene real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and get some things up and running while I do that, and we're gonna go to Archives of Nethys. I just realized that I don't have everything hooked up just yet, but I really don't care at this point. But by the way, just to let you know, I see every single comment that you post. So, I do read and see every single comment. So that includes all the random comments of like, my model looks like trash. I've seen some, or like people, I love this because I don't understand these people. I've never understood these people. These people will comment on my shorts being like, oh my God, it's another VTuber. Why am I getting so many VTuber contents? You decided to comment on a video with a VTuber in it. That's why you're getting VTuber content. But they don't understand that because they don't know how the algorithm works. And I barely know how the algorithm works. If you're looking for it, just real slow because it's... Do note, and I will state this, I don't have money. And sadly, I know people in my Twitch also don't have a lot of money either. Which is why, in order to help me, I asked that the only thing I asked for is your watching of the video or watching of the stream. The only reason I say that is because if you watch on YouTube, you get me closer and closer to the chance of potentially getting monetized on YouTube. If you watch me on Twitch, you actually give me maybe 6 cents for every ad you watch. And a 3-minute ad is supposed to pop up roughly every hour or so after the first one. So, and I know it's like 3 minutes. I'm like, it's the best way to make sure I don't lose. I get rid of pre-roll ads. You can also, technically, I do have a Ko-Fi. You can technically send me money directly there or support me there. I don't ask you to, but if you want to support me there, you can. Anyway, let me get back to what I was doing. You made a comment about unnatural lust. The spell, specifically. And I want to just reread Unnatural Lust real quick. Wait, is it not a wizard spell? Is that not a wizard spell? Is it a bard spell? It is a bard spell. Is it also a witch spell? No, it's a wizard spell. I just missed it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get over to this. So we're going to look at Unnatural Lust. This is a spell that's very weird. It exists in Pathfinder 1st Edition. It is from the book known as Ultimate Magic, which was released in about 2013, I want to say. When was this book released? We can go to paizo.com and figure out when this book was released, which tells us when this spell was fully released. That's the hardcover. It came out 2010. That's based around just the comments in there. So what does Unnatural Lust do? You target a it is the Hagassi item is 1 standard action. Do note Pathfinder 1st Edition uses a very different rule system. Oh, it's a 2nd level spell. That's why I didn't see it. It's a 1st level bard spell. There's a reason for that, and we'll get into that here in a moment. But Unnatural Lust does technically do something. It's a casting time of 1 standard action, which means it's effectively your action for people who've only played D&D 5th Edition. It has verbal and semantic components. It's a range of close. Do note that a range of close just means that it's roughly 30. You have to be within like 40 to 25 to like, what's the maximum? 5 feet per 2 levels. That's an extra like 45 35 feet. 35 feet? That doesn't sound right. 5 feet per 2 levels. 5 times 50. So 75 feet. It's 25 to 75 feet. You target one creature. It has a duration of 1 round. It has the saving throw is will, which is wisdom, effectively. Pathfinder First Edition only has 3. I can't do 3. Saves. It has fortitude, which is constitution, reflex, which is dexterity, and will, which is wisdom. Spell resistance, yes. Spell resistance is just something that many monsters have later down the line. Effectively, your target is filled with lust and desire for a single creature or object as designated by you at the time of casting. You said for me, I'm mostly familiar with 5e D&D. I think the most exposure I've gotten to a system like this is maybe the old Neverwinter Nights Baldur's Gate. This system is newer than Baldur's Gate, original Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, which Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 runs off of a D&D, or second D&D 2nd edition. This is Pathfinder 1st edition, which there is a Pathfinder 2nd edition. I have not played or GM'd 2nd edition. I've wanted to. I've wanted to. That creature or object must be within the spell's range and perceivable by the target of the spell. The target is filled with the compulsion to rush to the subject of its lust and passionately kiss or caress the object on its next turn, taking no other actions. The target would not normally have lustful feelings toward the designated creature or object. It receives a +4 bonus on its saving throw. Low-level spell, very good at lower levels. This becomes not nearly as useful later down the line just because of how low the level is. So this is a spell that is sometimes really, and you're wondering what is emotion? It's the difference between the two a lot. So the easiest way to describe this is Pathfinder 1st Edition is D&D 3.0 somewhat standardized for the time, which was 2007. Somewhere around there. The best thing I can tell you is that Pathfinder 1st Edition has 5 different types of actions. I think it's 6. We'll go into it. It has a standard action, which is a singular attack, casting most spells, and interacting with most objects is a standard action. There is the move action, which is, of course, like moving, pulling out your weapon, anything that revolves around movement. So pulling out your weapon, some other equivalent actions. I don't remember what all of them are off the top of my head. There's the swift action, which some spells are swift actions, which is you have one of these. You have one swift action. You have one standard, one move, and one swift. Swift action is kind of like bonus action, but it's not like bonus action because only very few things cost bonus actions. There's free actions, which are actions that you can do at any time. Talking is a free action. Some other stuff. There's also immediate actions, which technically takes up your swift action for the next turn, but that's clunky and not many people rule it that way. But and then there's the no action, which is very few things that have a no action. As well as there's the full round action, which takes up both your standard and move action to do. 2nd edition went away with that, and you have 3 actions. That's it. So fighting with your swinging your sword is an action, moving is an action, pulling out a potion is an action, drinking a potion is an action. There's no action. There's no, like, but that's, like, the major difference. Besides, like, what races are considered and all that other stuff. Because races were renamed to ancestries and a whole bunch of other stuff. Also, if you notice, like, the website's different. Like, you have ancestries instead of races. You have archetypes, backgrounds, classes, skills. Your classes are roughly the same. They changed Paladin to be Champion. They changed... some classes have not been introduced yet. Or they have been introduced, but they're no longer, like, full-on classes. They're instead archetypes. Which an archetype is just a somewhat of a subclass. So... I haven't fully played 2nd edition, so I don't know the full system on 2nd edition. But Pathfinder 1st edition has a lot of classes. And do note, your concept could have fit multiple different classes. It didn't. It could have been, like, you could have been a psychic. You could have been a cleric, just an inquisitor, a oracle, a witch, a wizard, some other of the other classes in there. Like, this is why I say make a character concept first, and then we'll see how it can fit into the game. Because it's not going to be perfect all the time. And of course, like, many people would say that you shouldn't have picked this. If you wanted to play a witch, you shouldn't be playing the Witch Wolf Skinwalker, because you take a penalty to intelligence. Many people would say that's bad, and I'm like, I don't care. We're here to have fun. As long as you have a minimum of 16 in your primary casting stat, you will be fine. The difference is you'll be missing out on 2 to your DC if you do the exact same thing as everybody else that played that specific class. And which, honestly, your best bet is to run a specific type of character, and it doesn't really matter. You can still be viable even with that. Early version of that concept is a Conjuration Wizard in 5e. Conjuration Wizard would probably be the most effective one. So I'll go ahead and start with, I guess we'll go ahead and discuss about Pathfinder 1st Edition and the differences between PF1e and D&D 5e. And that just is, 1, there's a lot more classes. 2, there are no subclasses, technically. What do I mean by that? There are some rogues that, like, technically there are subclasses, but they're not like the subclasses that you think. I'm just trying to, like, describe it. Like, you can play a wizard, but you pick... So some of these classes, you technically pick your quote-unquote subclass at first level. And sometimes there's actually huge detriments when you pick your subclass. So we'll go with the wizard as a classic example of somebody that actually gets their subclass at first level. You also get a few things. You can also take an arcane bond, an arcane school, cantrips, and scribe scroll. Do note that crafting feats were like a big thing in D&D 3.5, and wizard always was able to scribe scrolls of the spells that they knew, which effectively made them somewhat better in normal games than sorcerers. If your GM was nice and gave you more spells than average. But I'm going to go ahead and just state the arcane bond. You can pick a familiar, which means you don't get a spell known as find familiar. You have to pick a familiar, or you pick a object to bond with. Think like Gandalf from Lord of the Rings, where, like, he uses a staff and a sword. You could play that character if you wanted to. You could wield a weapon as a wizard. You may not be really good using that weapon, but hey, it's something rather than nothing. Although I would say that his bonded object was probably the staff more than anything else. But in this edition, so this is a holdover from 3. There's a lot of things that are a holdover from 3.5, which is what Pathfinder 1st Edition is based off of. A wizard picks a school of magic that they are proficient in. And and depending on the school that they pick, it depends on the school that they pick, but they get special abilities based off of the school that they pick. All schools give special abilities, but if you pick a school that is not universal, is a Gish a viable build in Pathfinder, sometimes similar to Bladesinger here? I'm going to go ahead and tell you which class is a Gish-like class. If I remember correctly, Gishes are like weird. They're what is the term for Gish technically? It's what, a character that's good at something. Gish. I'm trying to remember what Gish means. And my brain is just not letting me remember what Gish is supposed to mean. Gish, D, and D. What was a Gish? Called a Gish. Oh, it's a Mage Knight. Got it. Magic Sword Fighter kind. Okay, so there's actually a few classes that can do that. We'll get into some of them. But they're viable. Let's go ahead. Let me go ahead and just state. One of these classes, you can do it right off the bat. Actually, a few of these classes you can do it right off the bat. If you want to be the best class that can do it, Magus. Magus is your Gish, effectively. They are a class that's built around sword fighting with magic. They literally get a whole ability known as spell combat that allows them to cast spells while still stabbing somebody with a sword. This is the class that you would want to play. Do note if you're limited to just the core rulebook, there is a prestige class based around it as well, known as the Eldritch Knight, which is the first official, like, Gish class. Effectively, what you would do is you would pick one level of fighter, and then go into wizard, or sorcerer. You could do sorcerer as well, but wizard is the one that you're able to get to 3rd level easier. You effectively can't go into this until 7th level. And like you could do that with this. Like there are options. You have options. When I state some of these things, like there's no one way to build the class. And Pathfinder 1st Edition, there are usually multiple ways of building the class. There's also, if you want to be more sneaky about it, there's Rogue. There's an archetype for Rogue known as the Eldritch Scoundrel, which effectively gets casting. And then, like, there's a prestige class known as Arcane Trickster, and you'll be wondering, oh my god, that's a subclass of Rogue in Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. Why is it a class? That's because it's a prestige class in this one, which means, and do note, in Pathfinder 1st Edition, a prestige class is a class that has requirements that cannot be met at 1st level. All your base classes have requirements that can be met at 1st level. Your Arcane Trickster, effectively your Rogue Wizard, your Sorcerer Wizard, or your Rogue Sorcerer, anything like that, you could easily do. I would say that depending on how you want to play it, really just depends on your cup of tea. I mean, you could also go Eldritch Scoundrel, Arcane Trickster if you wanted to. I wouldn't say it's a good idea, but that's up to you. I really don't care what you do. Most of the time, if your GM is paying attention, and do note I'm saying GM for Game Master, because Pathfinder uses Game Master instead of Dungeon Master, and Awakened Cat Arcane Trickster a while back was real fun. I think there are rules for playing like a cat, an awakened cat in 1st edition. in Pathfinder First Edition. The only issue, there's only one issue that I could see where people will not be used to this, and that is, in order to cast a spell of a specific level, you must have the score appropriate for your... I'm trying to actually explain this correctly. In order to cast a spell, you must, depending on your casting stat, so intelligence for wizards, charisma for sorcerers, wisdom for clerics, these are usually your casting stat for these specific types of characters. You must have a stat equal to 10 plus the spell level in order to cast that spell. Which is why I stated in the game is that, or in the last live stream, of you can get by with a 15 in your primary casting stat, as long as you put your ability score improvement in the casting stat of your class. You can get by with just a 15. You do not need a 16, a 17, an 18, a 19, or a 20 in order to be viable. That is just min-maxing. And you don't have to do that. To be viable is different than to min-max. Do note that I tend to min-max a lot of my characters, but that's just because I like being good at things. I like being good at what I can do. But that's just me. That's just how I play the game. You don't have to play the game like I do. It's probably why I don't really like 5th edition, is because every single time I build a character, they all look the same. I've made multiple shorts and stated multiple reasons as to probably why I don't like 5th edition. As a player, let me rephrase that. As a player, there are things that I just don't like about 5th edition. When building with a character in 5th edition, I'm just like, I'm kind of locked in on what class I want to play, as well as like the thing that I want to do with that class. Trick is to make a badly optimized character with some silly homebrew. Yeah, I can easily do that too. Like, here's the funny thing. I could go to rules. I could go to the bestiary. That's monster creation. Where is it? Advanced race guide. I could create a new race right now that did something unique. More unique, or a little unique. I think most of the stuff that this race guide has is built around... We've had a lot of races. As well as I could probably build a class that worked relatively well. Issue is that there's no real easy way to build classes in Pathfinder First Edition, because you have to build them from 1 to 20, as well as maybe you could just build what's known as an archetype for that class. The issue is now, what do you get rid of? Which is the other main issue. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of stuff in here that gets rid of a few like specific features in order to get other stuff, but that's up to you on how you want to do something like that. Yeah. If you're wondering what all these classes do, I'm not 100% certain, to be honest. I know a few of these classes can do. I know some crazy builds you can do with some of these classes. The cat that could fly with their invisible mage hand because they were so light and were so small that they could cast minor illusion, make a stalactite, float / hide inside. Yeah, I mean, you could do that in this game as well with any race that's small. Because I think minor illusion... Let me check something about minor illusion in this game. Minor illusion is a... No, it's not. It's a first level spell. Minor illusion is a first level spell. Minor illusion, where are you? Is minor illusion not a first level spell? Is it a second level spell? Where are you, minor illusion? There's minor image, not minor illusion. Yeah, it's 4 10-foot cubes. Cantrip. Yeah, it's a cantrip in 5th edition. Sadly, it's not a cantrip in Pathfinder first. Do note, some of the spells do exist, and some of the spells are just not cantrips in Pathfinder 1st edition. As well as not all classes that get excuse me, get access to cantrips have the ability to do damage. We saw that with the witch. None of these cantrips deal damage. If we go to the cleric, none of these cantrips can do damage. We go to the druid. None of these cantrips can do damage. I go to... yeah. And cast like... no! You prepare a cantrip, and you can cast it infinite number of times per day. Although, I'm going to go ahead and show you the... if you notice, look at the damage of cantrips. Here's the thing. Cantrips do not increase in damage like they do in 5th edition. Yeah. Pathfinder 3.5 had that rule, but everybody ruled it, used the homebrew rule of cantrips can be cast infinite amount of times. You can change out your cantrips every single day. So there's that if you're playing like a cleric or a wizard. Or a witch. Or a magus. Or a bard. No, not bard. Arcanist. Druid. I think that's it. Paladins and rangers still don't get cantrips. But paladins and rangers also only go up to 4th level spells. So they only go up to 4th level spells. Rangers and paladins also usually you don't want to use spells that require a saving throw for those classes because the DC of the spell is tied to the spell's level. Planning on running a game on stream sometime. I'm thinking about it. I want to run Rise of the Rune Lords, Pathfinder's Paizo's first adventure they ever published for 3.5. But I will be using the Anniversary Edition, which was re-released for Pathfinder 1st Edition. I want to run it. I just need 4 people who are willing to play in that game. I just don't know what time I'm going to be able to do it because depending on the job that I'm going to get will really dictate. I'm going to actually do this real quick because I just realized that this is very small on stream. So, and I'll go ahead and mention this. Rangers in Pathfinder 1st Edition are actually a lot stronger than in Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. But I do plan on running one on stream. I just need 4 like-minded individuals and 4 people who are willing to get in front of a camera. But that's really just the main thing, that they're willing to put up with my nonsense for potentially like 3 years. Because campaigns are not done in... campaigns like that are not done in like 30 sessions. It takes a while to finish something like Rise of the Rune Lords. Maybe I'll run a few modules one of these days. Maybe I'll see if I can't find some first level modules and we can run some of those so people can get their feet wet with Pathfinder 1st Edition again. Get them used to being on camera, those kinds of things if they really want to do that. It's up to you. Maybe I'll put out a post in my Discord, and maybe it'll be like something like the first select few, or like a raffle, like a raffle that I'll do, where I'll pick some. If I have like more than 6 players, I'll do a raffle. I'm like, sorry, only so many. Down, try a one shot if you want to See if I fit. Honestly, I can make anybody fit in. It's just an issue of, do you fit with my GM style, as well as like the other players in the group. You know, those kinds of things. I'll have a social contract, a session 0, those kinds of things, because those are the most important things to have, especially when we've got new players. Session 0, what you guys expect from the game, what I expect from you guys, those kinds of things. Any homebrew rules that I'll be using, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you this, I will be using some homebrew rules for Pathfinder 1st Edition when we play, if we play an actual campaign. One-shots, I tend to stick with the usual rules, and all that. So if you would like, I can always lurk in VC and Discord and try to get it a little bit more active. That's up to you. Like I said, I'm planning on, here pretty soon, I'm planning on probably being a lot more active in Discord. And I'm planning on changing up some things in Discord, maybe deleting some channels, getting new roles set up so that people can, like, do the thing that they want to. Because I want the community to be more focused around, in general, kind of just RPGs in general. Like JRPGs, tabletop role-playing games, Eastern RPGs, or Western RPGs, not Eastern RPGs, Eastern's the Japanese RPGs, MMOs, stuff like that. Because those are like the few things that I'm like interested in. And maybe one of these days I'll actually run a tabletop war game, like Warhammer 40k one of these days. Do note it'll be on Tabletop Sim, because I do not have the money to build my own army right now. And I know building your own army is like the fun thing to do. A lot of these, so a lot of those, so I'm prepared, and all that. Do note that if we do run a game like Pathfinder, Pathfinder 1st Edition, or Pathfinder 2nd Edition, or D&D 5th Edition, and everybody's up for it, I will be running it on here. It will be known as Foundry VTT. We'll probably do a few one-shots or like session 0s off of camera, specifically. Mainly so that we're not wasting anybody's time. And I'm not going to ask you to know all the rules. I know a lot of the rules, and I will likely homebrew some rules to make things a lot easier instead of making it like we have to stop the game, look it up, or anything like that. As well as if I do a normal campaign, I will be looking at what you guys take, give recommendations on what you could take or what you can take, stuff like that. Oh, if we play Rise of the Rune Lords, I'll go ahead and say that there will be some things that will be not allowed. Mostly, the only thing that I can think of is you can't play a goblin, sadly. Just because Pathfinder 1st Edition's Rise of the Rune Lords kind of expects you to use only a few of the extra rules that exists in Pathfinder 1st Edition. But that's up to, like, a few things. I'm not going to state that, like, a lot of the things need to be doable. I know a lot of broken builds in Pathfinder 1st Edition too. I can make a character do 700 damage on a single swing. With a single swing of an axe. It's not really that hard, but it's really hard on GMs when you build a character like that. So, yeah. Just trying to, like, discuss some things about Pathfinder 1st Edition. I might play some Final Fantasy 14 today, but I'm not 100% certain. I think we're about to have an ad. No, we got 11 minutes left. Never mind. So yeah. Maybe I'll post something in here. I'll think about it. I'll think about posting more inside the Discord. I've been really bad because what'll end up happening is that I'll hang out with all my streamer friends who's on a different Discord instead of like hanging out on my own Discord on specific days. So that's just something that I have an issue with. So. But yeah. But I want to try running Rise of the Rune Lords one day. And it can be that you can make some wacky characters. Do note that I expect at least some viability with your classes. I'm not expecting like full-on min-max. I'm expecting viability. Such as, like, if you pick a race that has a minus to your primary casting stat, I'm expecting at least you've thought it through. And all that other stuff. There's also Bard. Bard is actually one of the few classes that's actually been gone through quite a lot of change. Bard is only only goes up to 6th level, so that's just something you can build one. And I will say this: it is a transmutation wizard that focuses on changing shape and doing all that stuff. Is a viable build. Someone's done it. It just it will require you to kind of min-max it to an extent. You won't be able to do it probably with a race that you would want to play. Because you would need something that has at least a bonus to intelligence and a bonus to either strength or dexterity. And hopefully a negative to a stat that you're not planning on using that often. So yeah, that it's up to you. I could build one. I could build a 1st level one real quick if you want me to, but I don't know how viable it's going to be. Because doing a strength wizard, doing the muscle wizard as it's called, is not an easy feat, and there are archetypes that can facilitate it. Do note that I probably would build it one way and someone else would build it another way, and everyone picks human for reasons. Because humans get a +1 bonus feat and allows you to get your build up. It is a really funny concept, and I just don't know how viable it is. It's an issue of the muscle wizard could work. It can 100% work if you can figure out how to do it well. The issue is that muscle wizards don't come online until 5th or 6th level, depending on the class that you're playing as. And you need access to a few things. You need access to some of the transformation polymorph based spells. There's not just one spell called polymorph. There's a few polymorph based spells. There is a spell just called polymorph, but it's not like the only spell that allows you to change your form. You could do it with a druid. Druid could work. The classes that can work with it are alchemist, druid, wizard, sorcerer, some versions of bard, I think. I'm not 100% certain on that one. I'd have to look at the spell list and see which ones would work and which ones wouldn't. But yeah. There's also some other concepts in games that like you could play the character that's really good at enchantment magic. You could play the character that's really good at charming and manipulating their opponents. You could play the character that's really good at lying. You could play a character that's really good at a few other things. Yes, there actually is. It's not a spellcaster per se, but there is a class that's based around Constitution. It's this one right here. I am sadly not versed in this class. I haven't played one yet. I'd have to get you to someone else who's played this class a lot more than I have. But this is your Constitution-based spellcaster. Caster, in quotes. Very big quotes. So it's technically a caster, it's a caster, not caster. So, to put it bluntly, the kineticist works mechanically similar to the warlock, so to speak. Yeah, the warlocks, I think it's the warlock. In the sense that you do one thing, you cast one spell over and over and it's your best spell in the game. That's the kineticist. I don't know how viable the kineticist is in many games because I only see the kineticist as one job, and that is just to do damage. I haven't looked at some of the wild talents and all that. And it's also a more advanced class compared to something like Wizard, or it's actually more complicated than Wizard. If you could imagine that. It's way more complicated than Wizard, which is a surprise. So, I think there was a witch archetype that had con, but I think it was eroded. Yes, the Sacred Witch Doctor, which I think was eroded recently. Yeah, it was eroded. Yeah, instead of this used to change it to Constitution, but instead it just now gives you 2 points higher. So, they eroded the Sacred Witch Doctor, sadly. Also, like, if your GM's down to it, any class that was introduced in 3.5 is technically compatible with First Edition. You just have to do some minor tweaks to it. So, yeah. But that's just the main thing. You'll also notice that there's, like, a few things in here that, if you notice, there's these classes, or these things. Companion is an animal companion. And only... I'll go ahead and mention all the classes that can get an animal companion without having to do something specific in order to get one, such as taking your archetype or a feat to get it. Anti-Paladin can get one. Cleric, Druid, Hunter, Paladin, Ranger, and I think that's the last one. Yeah, those all get animal companions. The Eidolon is only for the summoner. The Drake is specific archetypes to some of the specific classes. Familiar is Wizard, Witch, Sorcerer, Shaman technically gets a familiar. Yeah. And Phantom is only on the Spiritualist. I don't know how Phantoms work. I've never played a Spiritualist, and based off of what I've read, Phantoms are kind of like just not easy to implement for some reason. I don't know why. They just aren't easy to implement. They're kind of weak, too, which is weird. Avoid having characters with animal commands or summons. It feels like it slows everything down. It can. I have played a character that revolves around summoning. And here's the funny thing. Everybody can get a quote-unquote companion once they're 7th level. Known as leadership, which gives you a character with class levels. So you could do it that way. But it's up to you. Do note that if we had 4 players, I would state that everybody can get that 1 or 2 people can get leadership. But I will state this, if you have, likely if I were to play the game, I would ban anybody who has a companion, an animal companion, Drake companion, Eidolon, familiar, or, Phantom, to gaining an animal companion, just so that they don't get up to 4 characters to play. As well as, you cannot have a character with an animal companion as your cohort, so that you don't get 3 people to you You can only you can only use a character. You can you can only control two permanent characters effectively. Meaning if your character gets a familiar, if your character gets a summoner. Do note, summons are considered temporary, and I will likely allow a character with Animate Dead to do the same thing, because Animate Dead works a bit differently. Which gives you it gives you a semi-permanent undead. Or I'll only allow it to where you can only control up to 3 characters in a combat situation. 3 permanent characters in a combat situation, but you can only have one of the following. You can only have a cohort, a animal companion, a drake companion, and stuff like that. Only one each. We're about to have an ad break here in a moment, so I'm gonna pause the stream, and we'll be back once the ad is over. We'll be back. Alrighty. I believe everybody is back on the Twitch side. Okay, so, but yeah. Do note that I have played a character that's revolved around summoning and companions. It's only as hard as you make it on yourself. And usually summons are supposed to go on your own initiative or something like that, but... Or they go right before you, those kinds of things. But, that's because we had an ad. I had an ad on Twitch's side. I paused the stream on Twitch's side so that Twitch doesn't miss anything. So that's why. I'm sorry. I'm sorry over there on YouTube that I have to, but I if I'm able to, I usually pause the stream so that people on Twitch don't miss out on content. If I had a better way of doing it, I would, but I don't. So we just got to deal with what we have at the moment. But I've played a character that's revolved around summoning. Technically, I've more revolved around a character that's done battlefield control, more than summoning in general. Mainly because summoning takes a while to do in Pathfinder 1st Edition. It takes a full round in order to actually like cast a spell, a summoning spell. So there's actually a chance of you getting interrupted when you cast the spell. So there's that. As well as a few other things, but that's just one of those things. And usually summoning is not that difficult, mainly because in Pathfinder 1st Edition, summoning can actually be more helpful because if the enemy is kind of one of those enemies that kind of attacks randomly or semi-randomly, it can attack like a creature. It can attack a summoned creature, which means that's a hit against the summoned creature that your allies didn't take or anything like that. And there's battlefield control, which means you can like make areas difficult terrain, which means they have to take twice as much movement in order to move through it, unless they have something like freedom of movement, but we won't go there. But yeah. You like concept of a demon summoner, someone who summons creatures that are chaotic and who will attack pretty much everyone. 5e1 gives you a ring of salt to hide in. So, in Pathfinder 1st Edition, a wizard, classes that can summon demons, specifically. Bards, clerics, wizards, sorcerers, arcanists. Magus, I think. You know what? Let me just go to the spell list. Wizard. Summon a monster. Where are you, summon monster? I require your assistance. Summon monster. You can't do it at first level. You can't do it at second level, but you can summon a lemur, which is the devil. You can do it at third level. You can summon a dretch once you get to 5th level. And I'm gonna say this. I hate dretches. There's a specific reason why I hate dretches. And that specific reason is they have a very, very, very annoying spell-like ability for level 1 characters. Or level 2 characters. Or level 3 characters. And I'll show you what that is when we go to the monster index. D for demon. There's also daemon and demon. Yes, they're different. They're not just there. Do note, Pathfinder 1st Edition doesn't have a designation known as just fiend. Instead, you have demons, daemons, devils, archons, angels, azatas, imperials. Hold on, it's not imperial. Azata. I don't remember what the limbo ones are. You have psychopomps. Oh, look, all the demon lords. Dretch, it's CR2 creature. I hate this thing. You see this spell right here? This level 3 spell? I hate it. I hate this spell. Now, you may be wondering, why do you hate this spell so much? Well, one, the DC is only 13, which isn't too bad. Issue. If you don't know what Stinking Cloud does, I will show you. And I think it works differently in the game that I'm referencing. Stinking Cloud. It's a 3rd level spell by most characters. It's a 20-foot radius, 20-foot high cloud that spreads out. It has a fortitude. It requires a fortitude save. Negates. You wanna know why I hate this spell? It causes this condition, known as the nauseated condition. This condition sucks. Because this is the condition of, you don't get to do the thing you want this turn. And it's also a poison effect, and demons are immune to poison, so they're immune to the effects of Stinking Cloud. Now, why do I hate the nauseated condition? Well, when you're level 1 or 2, or 3, usually level 1 or 2, you have maybe, depending on your class, a 45% chance of succeeding. Or a 55% chance of succeeding, depending on situation. Let me go ahead and go to conditions, which I think is under rules, core rule book, combat, conditions. Nauseated. Where are you? There it is. Nauseated. Creatures with the nausea condition experience stomach distress. Nauseated creatures are unable to attack, cast spells, concentrate on spells, or do anything else requiring attention. The only action such a character can take is a single move action per turn. I hate the nauseated condition. I hate it. Because it means you only can take a move action. I do not like the nauseated condition. But it exists. And there's actually a condition that's pretty close to it. The staggered condition. At least on the staggered condition, you can take a single move or standard action each round. But not both. So you can't take full attack actions. But a staggered creature can still take free, swift, or immediate actions. Creature with non-lethal damage equal to its current hit points because it gains the staggered condition, which is fine. It's just that I don't like the staggered... I don't like the nauseate condition because it locks you into just a single move action. Which means you also can't technically take immediate actions. Which is annoying. So, I don't like the nauseate condition. It's just annoying. It also wouldn't be so bad if frickin' Stinking Cloud didn't last for frickin' 1d4 plus 1 rounds. I mean, I could, but it's an issue. It's mainly an issue with a CR2 creature getting access to a 3rd level spell that causes you to be nauseated for 1d4 plus 1 rounds after leaving the area. That's the issue that I have. You have to leave the area to reduce the condition. And it's mostly just I have an issue with it in Wrath of the Righteous because there's a shit ton of dretches in the early game and they love casting this spell. They just love casting fucking this spell. They love doing it. And it pisses me off every single time that my character that has the highest AC gets stuck in the Stinking Cloud. So, It just pisses me off. That's all. It just makes me angry. It makes me angry. It makes me mad. But I would probably have ran those. What makes it so bad is I probably would have ran those encounters the exact same way, but maybe been a little bit more fair. Like, if one did it, then I wouldn't need to cast the other ones, because it never fails. Usually what ends up happening is that every single Dretch will end up using up their Stinking Cloud all at once, which means you pretty much have everybody is freaking nauseated until the spell ends, and then the 1d4 plus 1 rounds ends, which is the only issue I have with it. It also doesn't help that a Dretch is still considered a second level caster for all intents and purposes. So it only lasts for it's only supposed to last for 2 rounds. So I don't know. It's just an issue. It's a minor issue. It's a minor issue that I have with it. And there's a lot of other issues I could have with it too. Dretches are just one of those creatures that you just end up hating Dretches, because every single time you go back through Wrath of the Righteous as early game and you play on anything that's harder than like normal, you tend to just get blasted with freaking Stinking Clouds all the time. So that's all. And it technically also works like Fog Cloud. So technically you're supposed to also have a miss chance when attacking with Fog Cloud too. So against players, Stinking Cloud can be very debilitating, even for a level 3 spell. Players, Fog Cloud can be debilitating. Against monsters, this is probably one of the most useless spells to cast. Mainly because it's a poison effect, and a lot of creatures are immune to the poison condition, to poison spell, immune to poison. Especially fighting something like demons, which are immune to poison. So don't use this in the Wrath of the Righteous campaign, because by the end of the game, Stinking Cloud is going to be completely and utterly worthless. There's also a few other things, like there is one of the spells that I believe a lot of people like to use, which is known as this spell's pretty fun. This spell's pretty devastating. Issue, it's a poison effect. Cloud Kill just starts killing people. It just starts killing you. And I think there are actually some enemies that have access to this spell specifically, if I remember correctly. It just starts killing you. But it doesn't kill you with hit point damage. It kills you with constitution damage. And it can just, if you use this against a character that only has 6 levels, it just outright kills them. So if you're level 4 or 5, it can outright kill you. If you have 3 or fewer hit levels, it just kills you. Like Sickening Radiance. That's a 5th edition spell? Is that a 5th edition spell? Is that an AoE that causes poison damage? What's the spell? Dim greenish light spreads within a 30-foot radius centered on a point you choose within range. The light spreads around corners and it lasts until the spell ends. That adds the question of if there's exhaustion. So when a creature moves into the spell's area for the first time or on a turn, or it starts its turn there, the creature must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or take 4d10 radiant damage. And it suffers 1 level of exhaustion and emits a dim greenish light. Okay, so exhaustion does exist, but it doesn't work the same way in Pathfinder 1st Edition. So let's go back to rules. 1st Edition. It is a condition. So we're going to go ahead and look at exhaustion. Exhausted. Not exhaustion, exhausted. So, an exhausted creature moves at half speed, cannot run or charge, and takes a -6 penalty to strength and dexterity. After 1 hour of complete rest, an exhausted character becomes fatigued. A fatigued character becomes exhausted by doing something else that would normally cause fatigue. Exhausted is a worse condition of fatigue. That's usually in here, but you cannot be both fatigued and exhausted. So a fatigued character can neither run nor charge and takes a -2 penalty to strength and dexterity. Doing anything that would that normally cause fatigue causes the fatigued character to become exhausted. After 8 hours of complete rest, fatigued characters are no longer fatigued. So there is no exhaustion, but there is something similar to exhaustion. I wonder if it's in here. It is not. It's in a special section. Let me go back to rules, core rule book. Let me see if I can't find it. Which one is it under? Is it under special abilities? Probably not. Poison, disease, curses. Here it is. Energy drain and negative levels. Which is what you're which is similar to what you're asking for. Some spells and a number of undead creatures have the ability to drain away life and energy. This is dreadful attacks resulting in negative levels. These cause a creature to take a number of penalties. For each negative level a creature has, it takes a cumulative -1 penalty on all ability checks, attack rolls, combat maneuver checks, combat maneuver defense, saving throws, and skill checks, effectively every d20 roll. In addition, the creature reduces its current and total hit points by 5 for each negative level it possesses. The creature is also treated as 1 level lower for the purposes of level-dependent variables, such as spellcasting, for each negative level possessed. Spellcasters do not lose any prepared spells or slots as a result of negative levels. This is different from Energy Drain in 3.5. I believe you actually did lose spell slots and spells. If a creature's negative levels equal or exceeds its total hit dice, it dies. No save. A creature with temporary negative levels receives a new saving throw to remove the negative levels each day. The DC is the same as the cause of negative levels. Some abilities and spells such as Raise Dead bestow permanent level drain on a creature. These are treated just like temporary negative levels, but they do not allow a new save each day to remove them. Level drain can be removed through spells like Restoration. Permanent negative levels remain after a dead creature is restored to life. Creature whose permanent negative levels equals its hit dice cannot be brought back to life through spells like Raise Dead or Resurrection without also receiving a restoration spell. Cast the round after it is restored to life. So yeah. In D&D 5th edition, this is your exhaustion, except it doesn't go to level 6. It's equal to your hit dice. Which means if you take a negative level at first level, you die. If you take 2 negative levels at level 2, you die. If you take so at 6th level, you die. But by like 7th or 8th level or 9th level, negative levels get more common and are just, it's a meaner exhaustion. It's effectively a meaner exhaustion. Except it's the thing of the higher your levels, the less negative levels become an issue. At 6th level, it's equivalent to exhaustion, and after that, it's effectively just not as much of an issue. And yes, you can't get rid of negative levels easily, because getting rid of negative levels is a hard thing to do. But by 6th or 7th level, you have access to ways of getting rid of negative levels. You just need money in order to do it. There is one other mechanic that I don't know if it exists in 5th edition that is similar to negative levels. Let's see, was it up here? Ability to score damage, penalty, and drain is also something that can happen. Does not actually reduce an ability. So you can effectively get taken damage through your ability scores. I don't... Does ability score damage exist in 5th edition? Are there spells that actually do... does Feeble Mind do that? Is there even Feeble Mind in 5th edition? I don't remember. Are there spells that manipulate ability scores? Negatively, I should say. That sort of exists in 5e. You get spells that give you disadvantage on things. Yeah. So, in this one, damage is... So, penalties are usually the least common. But technically, age is a factor, and age is a penalty to your scores and not damage or drain. I think it even states that, like, penalties... But, yeah. 5e avoids changing modifiers to make it easier to track stuff. Yeah. In this one, it does... Well, do note, in this one, it says, for every 2 points of damage you take to a single ability score, it applies a -1 penalty to skills and statistics, listed with the relevant ability. The amount of ability damage you take... have taken equals or exceeds your ability score, you immediately fall unconscious until the damage is less than your ability score. The only exception is Constitution, where if the damage is equal to... You just die. Unless otherwise noted, damage to your ability scores is healed at a rate of 1 per day at each ability score. To each ability score that has been damaged, ability damage can be healed through the use of spells such as Lesser Restoration. Some spells abilities cause you to take an ability penalty for a limited amount of time. While in effects, these penalties function just like ability damage, but they cannot cause you to fall unconscious or die. In essence, penalties cannot decrease your ability score to less than 1. So strength applies to a few things and all that. And then drain is a more severe condition to damage. And you need a spell like Restoration to heal drain. It does not come back by default. And I think there's actually a CR1 creature that causes ability drain. It's an undead. Is it? No, it's a CR3. Which is the Shadow. This is like the first instance of a creature. Oh, it does damage. Never mind. It only does damage. Although, this is also an exception to the normal rule. Strength damage, this is a negative energy effect. A creature dies if its strength score equals or exceeds its actual strength score. Which means, like... This is the only issue, is that, like, a shadow shouldn't really be targeting your wizards, but, like, that's the most optimal thing to do, and it has the intelligence to figure that out, but then that would be, like, targeting the wizard because you hated the wizard kind of situation. So. There's a lot of noodly gimmicks in this game, so to speak. There is one thing that I like about this system. So you know how the Battle Master Fighter, you have to pick specific maneuvers in order to do things like push an opponent, cause an opponent to become feared against you. You know, the Battle Master Fighter that allows you to, like, do special do battle maneuvers that allow you to, like, push an opponent around, pull an opponent, trip them, make them fall prone, you know, those kinds of things. In Pathfinder 1st edition, and I think even in 2nd edition, let's see if I can scroll down to its correct spot. So, combat maneuvers. So there's a thing known as the combat maneuver, which allows you to effectively do the same thing as the Battle Master Fighter, except everybody can do it. It does provoke an attack of opportunity, but everybody can do it. You want to push someone around? Use the Bull Rush combat maneuver. You want to take away someone's weapon? The disarm maneuver. You want to grab somebody and throw them around? The grapple. Do note, grappling is also very complex. Auto move isn't necessarily the winning move for the roleplay situation. Very true. You wanna wrestle with somebody? There's the grapple. Do note, grapple is very complex and very convoluted. If someone decides to make a grapple build, I'm like, I'm going to tell you all that you need to know. Because do you want to just bum rush past your opponent? You could try to literally roll right over them with the overrun maneuver. You want to break something? Sunder. You want to put somebody on the dirt? Trip. There's also a few other ones. You want to make somebody flat-footed? Feint. It is a bluff check, but it's considered a combat maneuver. There's also mounted combat, which is weird. It's very weird. There's splash weapons. I think there's a few other combat maneuvers, and I think they're in ultimate combat. Let's go to ultimate combat. Ultimate combat. Is it in ultimate combat? Or is it in the advanced player's guide? Aha! More combat maneuvers. You want to do some nasty effect? You can use a dirty trick. You want to pull your opponents around? You can drag them. So there's only the 5e Echo Knight here? Maybe. You want to move somebody around? Reposition. You want to just steal their stuff? You can just steal their stuff. Echo Knight, Echo Knight. So you're talking about a character that creates an echo of themselves, right? What's the main gimmick of the Echo Knight fighter? Technically, I could just look it up. Echo Knight. 5e. You manifest an echo of yourself within 15 feet. 2 places at once Naruto, so just the Shadow Clone Jutsu. There is a way to kind of do that. Let's see here. I think there's a class in here that I think there's an archetype in here that does that. Let me see here. Is it this one? Is it this one? No, it's not the Spawn Slayer. Which one is it? Oh, it's this one. Shadow Double. As a full round action to create a single quasi-real shadowy duplicate. There you go. The 2 places in once doesn't start coming online till 5th level. And then you get more and more of them as you level up. So there is a class. There's an archetype that's based around it. It's a Slayer archetype, which is a Ranger Rogue mix, but you can do it. I think there's also some magic items that allow you to do it too. So, yeah. So, do note that a lot of the stuff that that 5th edition does that you get at 3rd level, you may not get until like 2 or 3 levels later in Pathfinder 1st edition. Although, I want to notice something. You may be wondering, why does a wizard have only one? A wizard only gets 1 spell slot, 2 spell slots, and if you notice, like, oh, this seems normal. Oh, there's 4, 3, 2, 1. That's like the normal amount of spell slots. By 20th level, a wizard can cast 4 9th level spells. They can cast Wish 4 times if they wanted to, and they have the money to do it. And that's not including any bonuses you get from your ability scores. There's also a few other things. I know 5th edition, the maximum that one ability score can be is 20, unless you play Barbarian, and then it can go up to 24. In Pathfinder 1st edition, the cap is technically unlimited. There is no cap in Pathfinder First Edition. There's no cap on how high you can make an ability score. In a normal game, if you're lucky, you can get to, by 20th level, you can have it up to 36. There might be some races that could give you a slightly higher, but 36 is the, like, theoretical maximum that you can make a stat. Which is, if you're wondering, that's a 13 on that stat, a plus 13 on that stat. It's very hard to get done correctly. Because you really can't finish it until you hit 20th level. So it's really up to if your GM even drops those kinds of items as well, into those kinds of things. So yeah. Because I believe Barbarian at 20th level, they can have 24 strength and 24 con. Some other things, Barbarians do not get their Constitution to AC. That's just not a thing. Monks do get their Wisdom to AC. But I showed this to someone else. I'm going to go to this, and I'm going to... Let's go look at the Tarrasque real quick. You know, the big, bad, evil monster of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. So I believe this is the 2024 rulebook version. No, this is the 2014 rulebook version. So it's a challenge rating of 30. Yeah, this is the 2014 version. But notice that its armor class is only 25. It's got 676 hit points. It's immune to fire, poison, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-magical attacks. Charm, frightened, paralyzed, poisoned. Yeah, so yeah. Seems normal, you know. It seems pretty normal, right? For those of you that have seen the Tarrasque. Yes, it's a big bad monster. Pathfinder has a Tarrasque. Let me see if I can actually find it this time. The Tarrasque is not in here. It's not in this specific version of... I hate it when I can't find it. Spawns of Rovagug. Where are you? Spawn of Rovagug. It's not in here. No, the Tarrasque is the most powerful of the spawns of Rovagug. Why is the Tarrasque not in here? I would have expected it to be, like, right here, and it's not here for some odd reason, you know? I usually like comparing the Tarrasque... There it is. I usually like comparing, like, the Tarrasque to everything, just because of, it's the one thing. It's a CR25, which means it's technically 5 challenge... 5... It's technically easier to defeat than the normal Tarrasque, but it's only got 525 hit points. Except its AC is 40? AC is much higher, as well. It's flat-footed AC. There's other things in here that make sense when you play the game. It's also immune to It's also immune to a bunch of other things. It's also got DR of 15 epic, which means it effectively negates 15 points of damage for every attack that hits it, unless it's an epic weapon, which that's based off of your GM. As a plus 37 to hit, which means you need a 57 in your AC to not get to guarantee a 5% chance of being hit. Because a natural 20 is always a hit, but it is not always a crit. It also has a ranged attack. And has a reach of 30 feet, or 60 feet with its tail slap. So it also does a lot more damage. That is just because of how the math works in Dungeon and Pathfinder First Edition rather than Dungeons and Dragons 5th Edition. The math tends to be a little bit higher. It also has a regeneration of 40, which means every round it regenerates 40 hit points. So effectively, if you're not using an epic weapon, it effectively negates 55 hit points from your marshals, effectively. Although if you're planning on fighting a Tarrasque, you would have given for solving the ranged fight problem. Well, okay. This is the Legacy Tarrasque. Do note I actually have the 2024 Monster Manual. It's not a beast. The Tarrasque. The Tarrasque has actually fixed the issue of not having a ranged attack. Here's its ranged attack. Known as Thunderous Bellow. It effectively kills any level 1 creature that's 150 feet away from it. And no, you cannot do the thing of, oh, I'm going to be out of range. You have to get... This solves the issue of the Aarakocra Bard that can just cast Vicious Mockery on it until it dies. The level 1 Aarakocra Bard that can just cast Vicious Mockery on it until it dies. This fixes that issue. Literally, the Tarrasque can now kill the level 1 Aarakocra that is using Vicious Mockery on it. Also, technically, this enemy takes up a 5x5 square, while this enemy only takes up a 4x4 square. But yeah. I don't know if there's anything like reach in this game, but will I build that could outrange that? If you're okay, so I have a question. Are you talking about any spell? Are you talking about a ranged attack roll? You're talking about Spell Sniper, right? The Spell Sniper, feat for the Warlock? Just them using the Eldritch Blast with every range, but it is immune to anything that has a ranged attack, a spell with a ranged attack roll. And there is a 1 out of 6 chance that it just reflects right back into your face. So it's immune to Eldritch Blast. It's immune to Firebolt. It's not technically immune to Acid Splash. Yeah, it's immune to Eldritch. It's also immune to Magic Missile. So, because of Reflective Carapace. Do note that this version is also immune to... Hold on, where is it? Carapace. This Tarrasque is actually immune to anything with cones, lines, or rays, and the Magic Missile spell. And there's a 30% chance that it reflects it right back at the caster. Otherwise, it is simply negated. It also has magic resistance, so it has advantage on all saving throws. And even if it fails, it could just say, I succeed for up to 6 times per day. So, yes, the Warlock could outrange it. But, legendary action moves up to its speed and does a 60-foot emanation originating from itself. Creatures in that area lose concentration if medium or smaller have the prone condition. The rest can't take this action again until the start of its next turn. So effectively, if you're just out of range of the 150-foot range, it could world-shaking movement closer to you, and if your allies happen to be in the way, it just doesn't. It just does that. But, yeah. The Tarrasque is also meant to be nasty. It's not meant to be beatable. It's not meant to easily be beatable. But it is. There is a way to defeat it. Just send it somewhere else. Just push it. Just open up. If you're a level 17 caster with 9th level spell, open up a gate, open it, send a Tarrasque through it, and hope and pray it stays there for a round so you can close the gate. So, yeah. But also, this Tarrasque is also immune to a whole bunch of other stuff, too. So, yeah. Do note that they 100% made sure that the Tarrasque in 5th edition could actually not be beaten by the cheesiest of strategies. Such as, oh, I'm going to play a level 1 bard that just casts Vicious Mockery, and I'm staying out of its range. Like, yeah, cool. Thunderous Bellows, you just died. Because you only have, at most, maybe 10 hit points. You're just dead. No save is going to help you. So. It also has a really high AC. If you're at 17 levels, can't you just wish? You could also do that. You could cast Wish. That is an option. The only issue is that I would rule that Wish requires a saving throw. I don't know which saving throw I would ask, but it gets a saving throw. Probably a Wisdom saving throw. Or an Intelligence saving throw, depending. Depending on specific situations. Which means there is a chance of it succeeding and a chance of it failing, and then a chance of you just losing the Wish spell completely, unable to be cast it. Because that's how Wish works in 5th edition. I do not like how Wish works in 5th edition. Although, since in 5th edition there is a chance of it, I would say this, because in 5th edition there's a chance of you losing the spell, I would just allow it to work, because there's a 30% chance of you just losing access to Wish completely for that character. So I would allow you to just wish it to another plane of existence. And Pathfinder 1st edition, no. It actually states it requires a saving throw, and you can cast Wish an infinite number of times, as long as you've got the diamond requirement down. So, yeah. I don't know why D&D 5th edition didn't give the Tarrasque regeneration. It just instead has more hit points. I'm like, cool. Technically, your 20th level fighter likely has what's the maximum? Is it plus 11? What is the maximum to hit for a 20th level character with the plus 3 weapon? That's not a barbarian. And doesn't have any other magic items. Let's just say that your GM was mean and only gave you a plus 3 weapon. It's what, 6 for proficiency, 5 for ability score, and 3 for weapon? So 14? So I mean, your marshals have roughly a 50% chance, 55% chance, or 50% chance of hitting the Tarrasque. So at some, and with your fighter with 4 attacks, I mean, it's probably going to die at some point. Right? Because it only has a 25 AC. Now, at 40 AC, let me see. A level 20 fighter has a 20 plus 20 to their first attack. Likely has at minimum a plus 10 to hit by that point due to magic items. Let's just see here. 20, 10, 30, and a plus 5 weapon. They have a 35. They get a plus 35 to hit. Well, 36 or 37 to hit, depending on what type of weapon they have. So your fighter is actually going to be hitting this character probably pretty often. Well, let's lowball it. Let's say that your fighter probably started with maybe like a 15. What's the lowest I could lowball this? 15 to 20. That's plus 5. The plus 3 due to a magic item. Yeah, your fighter could easily hit this. Your fighter can easily hit this without issue. Your fighter barbarian, the only one that may have a hard time hitting this is maybe like your rogue or cleric. Because a rogue and a cleric only gets a maximum of plus 15 at 20th level. If they have the same bonus, it's plus 5 from a weapon. Actually, let's go with plus 7 from a weapon. 15 plus 7 is 21. They're now at the chance of hitting the target, but not necessarily guaranteeing a hit. They have the same plus 10. So they only need a 9 or higher on the die. So it may seem to be easier to hit a Tarrasque in Pathfinder 1st Edition, but they regenerate 40 hit points every round. And of course, there's not a chance that your characters are also going to be rolling that high that often, and that's only on the first attack. Every class gets access to multiple attacks depending on their base attack bonus, effectively their proficiency bonus. Full BAB classes or characters that get a +1 to their base attack bonus every level get up to 4 attacks by 16th level. Classes that only get an increase of 3/4 of their level get 3 attacks, and then half BAB, such as your wizards and sorcerers, only get 2 attacks with weapons. Technically, with the Tarrasque, your sorcerers and your sorcerers and wizards are going to effectively just be useless, except for like very niche spells that might work. It also has a very weak will save, which means it's actually probably pretty easy to wish a Tarrasque away as well. So, yeah. I could also go into like numbers and all this and state, hey, this could be easy, this could be hard. It's kind of just up to GM, and I could theory craft like anything in this game and state like, okay, you really only need this to hit if depending on what weapon you're using, depending on what you're doing in game. Weapons get up to a +5 to hit, or +7 if you're actually using a weapon that like a Bane weapon. Weapons can do a crap ton of damage. Your wielding a weapon in 2 hands actually increases the amount of damage you do by 50% on your strength score. So you actually do 1.5 times your strength score. There's a feat known as Power Attack that allows you to increase the amount of damage that you do by sacrificing some accuracy. So yeah, it's all kind of just dependent on how you want to do this. And technically, I could think of ways of how to kill the Tarrasque with marshals, with spellcasters, stuff like that, if I really wanted to. Of course, it's immune to acid and fire, but you could cast spells that require to do like cold damage. AoE cold damage could work, although it does have a really high reflex save, so maybe not. And the only reason why it's that high is just because it's a magical beast and it has a good reflex save. It has a poor will save, and that's just because it has very for its level, it has a low wisdom score and it has a poor will save. Its fortitude save is also like the highest, so trying to kill it with a fortitude save isn't going to work. It's also immune to death effects, I believe. No, it's not. You could technically death effect this thing to death if it rolls a natural 1. If you rolled onto the it just dies table. If you wanted to. If it rolls a natural, because most of those are fortitude saves, and my 90% of the time they hit. You're gonna have to make it to where they roll a natural 1 in order to die anyway. Just because the bonus to fortitude is so high. It's an issue with a lot of enemies tend to either have a really high... many monsters have really high fortitude saves just because they have good fortitude saves and they have very high constitution scores, which makes them really hard to kill with effects like that. So that's just an issue with stuff like that. That's just a minor issue. Do note that unless, like, you're building up this specific enemy in your campaign, throwing a Tarrasque at your players when when there has been no hinting of a Tarrasque is kind of like just setting up your players to fail. Tarrasques effectively shut down every single spellcaster in the game. What else does it do? It can easily sideline your marshals if you're not careful. I'm just trying to think of like anything else that this... it can do a lot of damage if it hits you with all of its attacks. Excuse me. So, on average, I think it can do like over 100 damage on its attacks. What's its minimum damage? 19 plus 16 plus 16 plus 6. What is this minimum damage? What is the minimum damage of a Tarrasque? We got what? We have 15 plus 4 plus 15 plus 1 plus 15 plus 1 plus 1 plus 15 plus 1 plus 15 plus 3 plus 7. They can do 93 damage minimum. What's the average? 8 is what? 4.5 times 4 plus 15. D12 is 6.5. So 6.5 times 2 plus 30. Plus 5.5 times 2 plus 30 plus, that's what, 4.5 times 3 plus 7. So 137 or 138 points of damage on average. And that is if every single attack of its full attack hits. That's not including its ranged attacks, which if it uses its ranged attacks as a full round action, that's effectively 12 times 5.5 plus 15 times 6, which gives us 150. It actually does more damage on its ranged attacks than it does its melee attacks, which is funny. On average. That also doesn't include if it swallowed you or not. Which is 66 plus 12 bludgeoning plus 66 acid. Well, yeah, this is definitely a character, a monster that you don't send after level 17, or honestly, you barely send it to against level 20 parties. Only if like you've hinted the Tarrasque as being a major threat throughout the entire campaign, and this is like your final boss kind of thing. And the only real reason why you're trying to stop the Tarrasque is to just not destroy the entire building. You know. It can also grab you, which then could swallow you. It does 66 plus 12 plus 66 acid. So, yeah. It's a nasty monster. It's a very nasty monster. Gonna head to sleep in a bit. One last question from me tonight. Your scale Sona is cool. Do they have any lore or anything you feel like talking about? I believe I've talked about it in another stream, but not really. Honestly, I've based my character off of the Ruby Dragon from second AD&D, so that's why and a lot of that. So I'm technically not a red dragon. I am a ruby dragon. Do not confuse me with a red dragon. I am not a red dragon, even though my scales are red and all that other stuff. But so and I live in a cave most of the time, and I somehow found a computer, and I tend to break keys a lot. So I also technically have a human form that I use every once in a while. Yeah. I'm more of a gemstone dragon, but the ruby dragon doesn't exist anymore. It existed back in 2nd edition. And I kind of based it off of that. My model artist did a very wonderful job with it, and there's actually a few other features in here, but an ad is about to start, so we will be back after the ad break. Okay. We are back. Honestly, I should have probably just ended stream earlier because it's already like 7. And I don't really have much else to talk about. I would there was a comment that I got on that short, but I don't think this is the right time to do that comment. So I'm gonna go ahead and likely call stream here. So let's go ahead and call stream and find somebody to raid real quick. Let's see if there's anybody available that I am following at the moment. Is there anybody I haven't raided in a while? Or at all. I thought I saw somebody online, but they may not be online anymore. You know what? Let's raid Potato, because I actually don't get to raid Potato that often. So we're going to raid Potato in space. So we're going to go ahead and raid them, and we'll do that. Alrighty. Thank you guys for joining me, and I will see you guys later.